We already know from this video that the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX manga deviates slightly from the anime, but let's just take a look at how the manga story performs. And by the way, I will still use the translated names like Chazz Princeton instead of Jun Manjume to avoid complicating things. But let's take a look to the manga. The Duel Academy, a school that wants to educate its students to become true duelists. With the Obelisk Blues, who already had outstanding grades in the middle school, the Ra Yellow, who did exceptionally well on the entrance test, and Slifer Red, who are there and always have to expect to be kicked out. While Jaden wins his duels easily, Syrus has a more difficult opponent. An Obelisk Blue who only has to win one more duel after defeating Syrus to become a teacher and shape the school the way he wants it. That he also took Syrus' deck when he beat him wasn't the smartest move by him. After all, Jaden intervenes and this time he doesn't have such an easy hand to play against. But it isn't just luck that he had 49 consecutive wins. But it's also not skill. It's obvious cheating! He has a ring that creates an electromagnetic field that can disturb his opponents, making spell cards useless. And instead of breaking off the duel now, especially since others are watching and should somehow know that it's not fair if Jaden's spell cards can't be activated, the duel continues without any problems. Okay, Jaden thinks that this defect comes from playing Frisbee with his duel disc. In the name of the king of games, however, there's no giving up, but Jaden draws the perfect card to turn the duel around. Another fusion, a trap card to play a fusion monster. And there's no other choice but Earth, better known as Terra Firma. With him and the trap card Shield Strike, the duel was over in no time. The next duel is against none other than Chazz. He used to dominate tournaments, made a name for himself at the Duel Academy and has never lost. And that without his main card. If he ever loses, he would leave the Duel Academy. And now he's up against Jaden, who has his winged Kuribo as a duel spirit on his side. So it's a duel between someone who fights with his duel spirit and someone who has discarded his duel spirit. A duel that Jaden was really looking forward to, at least back then when Chazz still had fun at dueling and didn't become the Squidward of dueling. But even though Chazz doesn't enjoy dueling anymore, he still has powerful combo cards up his sleeve that will give Jaden a tough time. With Hero Signal and Fusion, Earth is back on the field, absorbing Stratos and using his laser swords to slice up some dragons. Chazz counters with a spell card of time, resetting the field to the round before Jaden's turn, bringing Jaden's life points down to 400. Chazz makes fun of Jaden for seeing his cards as partners and not as tools, which Jaden can't let slide. He summons his little fairy partner, gives it a power boost and enlightens Chazz a bit. And that's why his old partner shows up. No more wasting time, it's time to dig up his card again. Back then, Chazz was afraid of losing with the Light and Darkness Dragon by his side, so he cast it away. But now he's not afraid anymore. Now he wants to have it back by his side. The fact that Jaden won his admission against Crawler and now against Chazz excites Bastion so much that he wants to duel him next. And as we know Bastion, he has already thoroughly analyzed Jaden and realized that it isn't just his seemingly unbeatable deck that's the problem, but Jaden's ability to always draw the right cards. However, you shouldn't force a duel. Wait, Jaden has Alexis' number? Oh fuck, it's time to duel! After all, Bastion is madly in love with Alexis and doesn't even have her number, despite being the top student in Ra Yellow. If Jaden wins the duel, Bastion will lend him the Battle City and Pegasus DVD. If he loses, he has to give Bastion Alexis' number. At first, Bastion had to take some damage, but is still somehow too confident with his mini-flame army. Now that Syrus is being called by Alexis and she personally shows up, Bastion cannot lose. To make that happen, he fuses 3 small flames into a big one and destroys Jaden's hand card with card destruction, which also takes out Jaden's fusion card as expected. But Jaden still has the trap card, another fusion, which Bastion once again anticipated and tries to disable. Unfortunately, he didn't expect another fusion trap card, which Jaden combines with Diffusion and Earth's Gravity to first call Earth, split Bastion's fusion monster and decide the duel with Earth's Gravity. And even though Bastion lost the duel, Jaden sneakily arranges for Alexis to exchange numbers with Bastion because she's also interested in the Pegasus DVD. Yeah, and Jaden won't get it now because ladies first, and he'll have to settle for the Battle City DVD for now. Good thing Jaden gets his revenge with his next duel. In a Miss Duel Academy contest, the 2-time winner, Kohinata, goes head to head with Alexis in the final round. Alexis doesn't really feel like it, just like Jaden, who's the only student who didn't vote. That way he can finally take revenge and pay Alexis back, but Kohinata gets a bit worked up, thinking that as a friend of Alexis, Jaden will immediately support her and wants to duel him since since he's just a low-life Slifer Red. If she wins, she gets his vote. Until she realizes that Jaden is that Jaden who won against Chazz. Lucky for her, Alexis steps in and wants to duel Jaden, only with very weird demands. If she wins, she drops out of the contest. If she loses, Jaden gives his vote to Kohinata. So, lose-lose for Alexis. She tries to freeze Jaden with her ice deck, but then faced Earth after only 2 turns, which she quickly puts on ice and defuses him again. Just like all the other monsters of Jaden are shock frozen and destroyed, so that Alexis lands a direct hit. Jaden probably briefly thinks about the fight between Kuzan and Sakarsky and remembers that heat is the best against ice. Time for Flame Master to melt the ice, which Alexis directs at herself. She thought she could beat Jaden now, but only ran into his trap and had to face defeat. After a duel like that, it would be too awkward for Kohinata to become the queen, so she withdraws from the competition and hands the title over to Alexis. The next duel is a lot tougher. After all, Jaden now has to go up against Syrus with everything on the line. If Jaden wins, Syrus gets expelled because he got 0 points on a test. If Syrus wins, Jaden's deck gets confiscated. And even though it's extremely hard for both of them, they want to give it their best and not hold back. To do that, Syrus even activates a card he received from his big brother as a kid, transforming into Kyberman. With this fresh armor, every monster of Jaden is destroyed that attacks Syrus directly. However, if the spell card is destroyed, Syrus takes all the damage at once. He managed to avoid the destruction of the card once, tries it with Optimus Prime, even manages to push Jaden a little into the corner and slightly disperse him, but that wasn't enough to win. Jaden draws 2 cards and uses them to destroy the spell card, thus destroying Syrus' armor and life points. They both promise that Syrus will be back next year right away. Only he doesn't have to leave because Crawler messed up and Syrus doesn't actually have 0 points, but rather 91. Professor Hibiki is kind of like Jaden's big sister because Jaden got his deck from her brother, who used to be not only a pro, but also a world champion. Jaden met Koyo in the hospital, became friends with him there, and that's also how he got into dueling. Although he's not as fit anymore to participate in a real duel, he does it anyway to show Jaden how cool he is. In the tournament, he even makes it to the semifinals, gives Chazz an autograph and returns a dropped card, which Kuribo sprinkles with magical fairy dust. Unfortunately, Jaden couldn't witness him dueling as a pro because he passed out and had to be taken away in an ambulance since there were no senzu beans available. At least Jaden could still see that. That was actually also the first encounter between Jaden and Chazz. Koyo has a nightmare about a duel against the Shadow, who wants to duel him again and therefore curses him, which slowly but surely kills him the more often he duels. He actually would have died instantly through the Shadow game, so actually it was nice of the Shadow. An MRI couldn't find anything except for a spot in his brain that looks like a shadow. But there's no time to dwell on that. It's time to show Jaden how he duels as a pro. By dueling Jaden as a pro. Jaden got some time to build a deck and Koyo to put on his pro clothes. Koyo also knows very well that this duel will be his last. Well, at least it's going to be a really awesome duel because not only does Koyo have elemental heroes, but Jaden has also built a deck of elemental heroes and starts with Bubble Man. After B comes B again, which is why Jaden tries an attack with Blade Edge, which is blocked, but at least he wins Hibiki as a sister. Blade Edge gets weakened, Voltic gets powered up, both are destroyed. Perfect setup for Heat to slap Jaden. Heat becomes Hero Flame Burst, but it gets stopped for now. Avian fuses with Burstinatrix, activates Skyscraper, and now the one and only Flame Wingman is in the game. He doesn't hesitate, knocks out Heat Flame Burst, and with its effect, he takes a good chunk of Koyo's life points, but it quickly changes in the next turn. Since Skyscraper works for Koyo too, he destroys Flame Wingman with Ocean and Woodsman deals a direct hit. Jaden wants to prolong the duel a bit with the Swords of Revealing Light, while Koyo gets a minor heart attack. Thunder Giant provides some order, but Koyo counters with Wing Kuribo. As a result, he managed to survive, but in his last move he takes another heavy blow, and after summoning Frieza's big brother Earth and enhancing him into Golden Earth, Jaden had to suffer another defeat. They both enjoyed the duel a lot, so as a reward, Jaden receives Koyo's deck and his code, as he will retire as a pro. As a pro, and as a living being, as he now pays a visit to the Shadow and falls into eternal sleep. The fact that he's sleeping deeply hits Jaden hard. Although the Wing Kuribo tries to help him, which he could even vaguely recognize, Jaden runs out and gets a mental breakdown in the roof until the Wing Kuribo shows up. In order to carry on Koyo's legacy, he intends to fulfill his promise and become the king of duels. Archaeologists digging around in the pyramids What could possibly go wrong? Alright, a shadow creature gets unleashed and possesses the bodies of the archaeologists. Back in the present, Kaiser Zane has arrived, along with 2 exchange students from America, David and Reggie. Now a tournament will take place on the island, where the participants have to win duels to earn points, so that they get into the KO rounds, and whoever wins the entire tournament gets to challenge Zane. The 2 Americans don't miss out on the fun and decide to join in. First, David takes on Zane's younger brother, Syrus. At the same time, the duel between Chazz and Bastion begins. Only that it takes a bit longer for them, because Syrus was finished pretty quickly, thanks to another planet card, Jaden. Big Bro Zane almost dished out some duel slaps and was about to duel with David, but Syrus doesn't want that because everyone should stick to the tournament rules. Things are heating up between Chazz and Bastion. First, Chazz gets to deal some damage, but then Bastion brings out an yokai army, and even Kurama himself makes a comeback. Bastion manages to deal some damage, but little did he know that Chazz knew exactly which card he would draw next and summon right away. His Light and Darkness Dragon. He makes a strong first impression by unleashing an attack on Bastion. Effects are also more or less irrelevant to the Light and Darkness Dragon, because he can negate an effect for 500 attack and defense points. Bastion wants to take advantage of this and force the effect, making the dragon weaker than Kurama. However, Chazz beats him to it and negates one effect of himself after another, until the effect can no longer be activated. The dragon has such a powerful presence that even David notices it, who's looking for a dual spirit with Reggie and only came along for that reason. Chazz restores his dragon to its original strength and wins the duel. But even though Bastion has lost now, he's not thinking of giving up and hopes for a rematch in the finals. Unfortunately, David arrived too late to catch the dual spirit, but he encounters Jaden. David has defeated Zane's brother, and Reggie has set her sights on Alexis, Atticus' sister, and she also has a planet card in her deck, namely Venus. This card weakens any non-angel monster by 500 attack points. Alexis wants to counter that with the Ice Queen, which is weakened by Venus effect. So weaken Venus as well and counter Reggie's face down card, which gets countered by Venus effect, which counters the counter cards. Reggie's effect goes through, Venus becomes stronger again, destroys the Ice Queen and wins the duel because Alexis doesn't have any monsters left to protect herself in the next turn. Just out of curiosity, of course, she asks about a duelist with a dual spirit, where Alexis only thinks of Jaden. So the target is set. He's still facing David and even wants to duel him, but David refuses because the Slifer Red Dorm students are beneath his level and give too few points for a victory. 1 Ra Yellow gives more points than 5 Slifer Reds, and 1 Obelisk Blue gives more points than 10 Slifer Reds. Jaden, however, prefers the red outfit because of Koyo. Luckily for Jaden, an Obelisk Blue duelist walks by and he can duel him, just like everyone else is pushing themselves to get through their preliminaries. The final matchups are Alexis vs David, Kohinata vs Jaden, Chazz vs Syrus, and Bastion vs Reggie. Each of them wants to win it all to duel against Zane in the end. And now the finals begin with Jaden and Kohinata. She wipes out Voltic with her snakes, hits Jaden hard and even gives him another snake on his field that deducts 500 life points from him every turn. That's when Thunder King comes in handy, destroying one snake, and with its effect, Kohinata can no longer search a deck and therefore special summon a monster from it. David learns from Reggie that Jaden is the one with the dual spirit and only gets slightly upset that he missed his shot. It's not even certain that Jaden will win the duel either, because Kohinata summons Ananta, which has 3000 attack points. Even Earth can't do anything against the snake. It's up to the Winged Kuribo to save the day, who David and Reggie immediately recognize as the dual spirit with their earrings. But will they still recognize it when Jaden upgrades it to level 9? With 6200 attack points, it's slightly stronger than Ananta and ends the duel that way. It's a painful blow for Kohinata. Jaden tries to cheer her up, but she turns him down and walks away. You did your best, bro. 3000 years ago, Ka was sealed by the Pharaoh's priests using the Millennium items. And with the dual spirit, his full liberation would be complete. That's why David and Reggie are itching to fight Jaden and his Kuribo. Using force would be a bit boring, so they want to win the card in the shadow game. Jaden gets even more confused because Reggie knows what happened to Koyo. But for now she needs to show what she's got in a duel against Bastion. She starts off with the Light God, but it doesn't last long against Bastion's monsters. They get weakened. Palace of Valhalla is also activated to summon Athena, which only slightly affects Bastion. To make matters worse, the Light God returns, but Bastion intentionally lets his monsters be destroyed to send them to the graveyard and summon the Red Ogre. With its effect, he wipes out the opponent's field, leaving only one card. But what kind of card is it? can Bastion attack without worries and win the duel? Yeah, he does, and Reggie respects that by not countering the attack with Mirror Force and so intentionally loses the duel. Reggie is out, and David is the only one left who wants to take revenge on Alexis, since he was defeated by Atticus before. And he hands Alexis the worst loss ever. Alexis starts by summoning a monster and sets 2 face down cards. Yeah, good luck with that, because David drops Saturn on his first turn, breaks through Alexis' defense with piercing damage and detonates Saturn with an effect, willingly taking some damage himself, but laughing it off because Alexis falls victim to a 1-turn kill as a result. That really hits Alexis hard, but it only fuels her desire to grow even further. Next up is the duel between Chazz and Syrus. Syrus has to play a bit more defensively, but then he launches an attack with a combo and a powered up Optimus Prime. He hits Chazz hard, bringing him down to 1400 life points. However, Chazz doesn't back down and summons the Light and Darkness Dragon, who crushes Syrus' little robot body. David and Reggie are pretty confused, just like the Shadow guy, who's watching everything with his earring and sees that the Light and Darkness Dragon has the Feather of Ma'at in it, which triggers him a bit. Zane is not only the Kaiser, but also a psychic, because he predicts that Syrus will take out the dragon on his turn, which is exactly what happens. Syrus' impressive performance in this duel confuses David even more, because he wasn't even close to being that good when facing him. Guess the promise to his brother gave him some extra fire. Chazz tries to hold on, but Syrus shuts him down and puts him on the ropes. But it's all part of the plan. He activates a spell card, banishes the Light and Darkness Dragon from the field, and special summons the Dark End Dragon. This dragon doesn't negate an effect for 500 points, he straight up destroys a monster. Syrus used to be too nice when dueling, always letting his opponent win because he felt sorry for them. But that has changed. With Dimension Fusion, he retrieves his 3 jets and combines them into Solid Droid Gamma, which destroys all of Chazz's face down cards. However, before that, Chazz activates his spell card, transforming his Dark End Dragon into the Light End Dragon. Syrus' monster is still stronger and goes for the attack, but Zane knows that's a bad move. After all, Chazz can sacrifice 500 points from his monster to reduce his opponent's points by 1500. So he hits back with a counter attack that Syrus can't take, and he can't believe he lost, while Chazz is super glad he pulled it off. But Big Bro always knows how to make his little brother feel better. Jaden tries to somehow warn Chazz about his upcoming duel against David, which doesn't really work. Bastion sees Zane as a rival for Alexis and wants to beat him not just as a duelist, but also as a man. So beating Jaden wouldn't only get him revenge for his previous loss, but also gets him one step closer to dueling Zane. And it looks quite promising because Jaden can't fuse his monsters. Bastion counters his fusion with Narukami Waterfall, which prevents monsters from being sent from the hand to the graveyard. So Jaden decides to summon his monsters to the field to fuse them, but Bastion counters that too, which means no monsters can be sent from the field to the graveyard except through battle. Thus, Bastion completely shuts down Jaden's fusion attempt. At least, almost. Jaden can still send cards from his deck to the graveyard. First, he gets back Ocean and Woodsman from the graveyard to his deck and uses Fusion Birth. He can send 5 cards from the deck to the graveyard, and if there's fusion materials among them, he can fuse them. Earth is back in action, dealing some damage right away. But the heart of the cards is also there for Bastion, who pays 1000 life points to summon Kasha, which returns all monsters on the field to the player's deck and gains 1000 attack points for each one. Jaden is wide open, so nothing can stop a direct attack. He's running out of options, so he banishes more monsters from the game and uses Parallel World Fusion to fuse them and bring out Elemental Hero Gaia, who cuts Kasha's points in half and easily takes him out and drops Bastion to 0. He doesn't get his revenge on Jaden or his duel with Zane. But because it was an absolute intense duel, he's not too bummed about it. Atticus shows up at the Duel Academy while Chazz and David start their duel. But this won't be a normal duel, it's a shadow game. Only those who can see dual spirits can also see the darkness. That's why David is quite surprised that Hibiki can also see the dark mist. Well, he should focus more on the duel anyway, because Chazz isn't holding back and attacks with his Genesect Dragon. Quality is destroyed, 3 quantities are summoned from the graveyard onto the field, which David powers up with Sniper Mode and lets them attack directly. And since it's a shadow game, the sniper shots hurt like hell. Hibiki and Jaden try to stop the duel, but Chazz doesn't need their help. He's not going to lose to him and give up his partner. To be on the safe side, Hibiki is silenced and restrained. Jaden backs also off after Chazz makes him a promise and the duel goes on. There's still a direct attack left, which Chazz takes like a man. Thanks to his spellcast, the quantities may not be destroyed, but since they are in attack mode, Chazz can attack them all with Hurricane Dragon and the Bomb Dragon as well. David loses a good amount of life points and loses a part of his body as a result, but he doesn't care at all. The three little ones make way for a big Saturn. David powers him up to his ultimate form by discarding a card from his hand and paying 1000 life points. Chazz redirects the attack to his Bomb Dragon to weaken Saturn a bit, then special summons another dragon to summon the freshly drawn Light and Darkness Dragon, who dispels the darkness, defeats Saturn and ends the duel. David is defeated, his earring is broken, he faints and Hibiki regains immobility. Detective Hibiki can put 2 and 2 together and realizes that Reggie must also be dangerous. 3000 years ago, our Shadow Paul was on a trial in Egypt before for breaking into the room with the car monsters, and his student attempted to assassinate the pharaoh, which was prevented, but he took his own life with poison. Since he doesn't respond, the white winged Kuribo passes through his heart and weighs itself on the Millennium Scale with a feather of Ma'at, revealing that the darkness in his heart is so great that the winged Kuribo turns black. He's pretty mad because they sacrificed his village to make the Millennium items. He knows the pharaoh didn't know about it, but he still unleashes the monster inside him and fights the 3 priests. But he's not strong enough to beat them because some of his power is in the winged Kuribo. However, thanks to the feather, the winged Kuribo is untouchable to him, so they can seal him away. It's just that he was partially freed again, with only a small gap in him. The final showdown between Jaden and Chazz will take place in none other than the reconstructed duel tower of the Duel Academy. Everyone is stunned when Atticus shows up, who actually returned earlier because he wants to seduce Reggie. In the infirmary, Ayukawa thinks David's case is a lot like the one who passed out in the Battle City finals. Reggie catches Hibiki outside while the final duel begins. Jaden wastes no time and swiftly summons his Gaia with Miracle Fusion. However, Chazz counters its effect with his Dark Dragon and destroys it. Defending won't offer much protection either due to his spell card, causing Jaden to lose half of his life points already. Hibiki wants to know what happened to her brother, and Reggie will tell her if she wins a duel. Since Gaia didn't work out, Jaden tries another fusion, Absolute Zero, the strongest hero card of Chazz's hero Koyo. This brings back memories of the tournament from earlier, where Koyo did great and Chazz got his autograph. Jaden strengthens Absolute Zero and takes down Chazz's dragon. One dragon down, but another one shows up. It sacrifices 500 points to drop Absolute Zero by 1500 points and destroy it, although Jaden was able to block the damage. Another dragon showed up, so Jaden brings out a new fusion, and this time Earth hits the field. He doesn't waste any time and goes for a dragon hunt. Next, Jaden has all of Chazz's monster attack Earth, causing him to lose almost all of his life points. However, even Earth cannot withstand the might of the Light and Darkness Dragon. So it's up to Kuribo. He gets his level 10 armor once again during an attack, but its effect is negated by the Light and Darkness Dragon, bringing the duel to an end. Chazz beats Jaden in the final. So Chazz is the well-deserved winner of the duel. But Jaden doesn't mind too much, since he had a lot of fun in the tournament. Chazz and Zane get to duel on the volcano field. How nice of them. While Zane is looking forward to the duel, the winged Kuribo has an uneasy feeling as it glances at the abandoned dorm, where Hibiki and Reggie are dueling. It turns out that Koyo got the winged Kuribo from Pegasus, which turned into a duel spirit after Koyo dueled against Reggie. And of course, the duel between Hibiki and Reggie is a shadow game. However, the shadow guy can't observe the duel himself, which suits Reggie just fine, because she wants to rebel against him. While Hibiki sets cards face down, Reggie summons an Angel of Power and the Light God, who gets bounced back. The attack from the angel is immediately returned, along with some additional damage. The winged Kuribo leads Jaden to the abandoned dorm, where they keep dueling. Hibiki keeps just setting cards face down, while Reggie summons an Archangel and the Light God. First let an attack miss, and then summon her own angelic monster. However, these are fallen angels, and they are quite strong, as Reggie quickly discovers. Trying to defend herself doesn't help much, especially since a fallen angel inflicts piercing damage. Since Reggie can't win fair and square, she tries a little trick. If Hibiki wins, she'll tell her how to bring back Koyo. However, if she does that, she won't be able to say it because she, too, falls asleep due to the shadow game. And now, just to mess with her, and because she's out of options, she summons a level 1 monster. The logical outcome here would be for Hibiki to win the duel. After all, she won't get the information from Reggie either way. However, she tries to employ a stall tactic, which unfortunately backfires as it allows Reggie to summon Venus. Hibiki loses one monster after another to Venus, losing more and more life points and parts of her bodies until Jaden arrives. With him by her side, Hibiki gathers new courage, playing another fallen angel who gets weakened a bit to destroy Reggie's monsters, giving her a clear path. Or so she thought, because Reggie's face down card wasn't a bluff as she claimed, but a means to bring back Venus and defeat Hibiki. And to top it off, Reggie didn't even know how to wake Koyo from his coma. Jaden's probably going to duel her next, just as Chazz and Zane get to the field and more exchange students are getting ready to fly to the duel academy. Chazz has been compared to Zane and Atticus ever since he became junior champ. Today, he can prove that he's just as good as them. Time to duel! Chazz starts off by summoning 2 monsters, while Zane plays Cyber Lava and sets 1 face down card. It's Chazz's turn again, who takes out the Lava, which is immediately replaced, but then he summons his Dark End Dragon, causing the Lava to vanish for 500 points. Big mistake, because now Zane can special summon Cyber Dragon and boost its power by 300 points, making it stronger than the dragon. Chazz had to take a hard hit from the attack, but at least his monster is still on the field, thanks to a spell card. And to add to the excitement, he also summons the Light End Dragon, uses its effect to weaken the Cyber Dragon and sacrifices 2 monsters from the graveyard to summon the Light and Darkness Dragon. Now Chazz has his best monsters on the field, but he can't attack this turn because of his awesome combo. That works for Zane, who wants to finish it this turn. He activates Emergency Cyber to bait out and weaken the effect of the Light and Darkness Dragon. Cyber Emergency returns from the graveyard to the hand, creating a loop that continues until the Light and Darkness Dragon can no longer activate its effect. Then the effect of Cyber Emergency works, allowing Zane to add Cyber Eltonine to his hand and summon it by sacrificing 6 monsters from the graveyard. With its effect, Cyber Eltonine wipe out Chazz's side, and Chazz has to admit that Zane is playing in a whole different league. Zane goes for a direct attack on Chazz, ending the duel without Chazz being able to inflict a single point of damage. However, Chazz sees this defeat as motivation to improve himself. But where's Jaden though? He would never miss this duel. He's about to start the duel against Reggie. Before that, he used his Slifer Red Jacket to keep Hibiki's head off the ground. Nice that they are produced by Kyber Corporation. Reggie had to witness as a child how Aster Phoenix's father was killed by the shadow and her own father became possessed by it. Since then, she has been nothing but a puppet of the shadow. But if she could obtain the Winged Kuriboh and the Light and Darkness Dragon, she could make the monster's power work for her. So the next shadow game begins. Voltic gets to destroy a small angel first, while Woodsman is destroyed by an angel and Jaden takes his first damage in a shadow game. But that only impresses him a little, because now he gets Earth on his side, using Voltic to power him up. Actually, Earth would have been enough, but he got so furious that he completely overlooked the face down card and ended up losing Earth. Luckily, he realizes his mistake after that and manages to prevent the worst by destroying one of Reggie's attacking monsters. She activates a trap card and ends up with Venus. Good thing that she can't attack this turn. Jaden hopes for a spell card, which he would get with Flash, but Venus weakens it and forces it into attack position through a trap card, further weakening it. Destroyed, it takes a big part of Jaden's life points with it. Well, at least he got Miracle Fusion, which lets him summon Elemental Hero the Shining, who gets stronger with heroes in the graveyard, enabling him to destroy Venus and clear the way for Stratus to make a direct attack. Jaden is shocked when he learns that Reggie doesn't actually know how to bring people back from the coma after losing in the shadow games. Although he overhears her saying it to Hibiki, he still pretends to be shocked. Another one arrives at the abandoned dorm. Reggie summons Shetiel, Valhalla, and thus brings Venus back, which weakens Jaden's monsters, while Shetiel strengthens Angel Monster on her side. Reggie is also overly attentive because she knows that the face down card from Jaden was in his hands since the beginning of the duel. With that card, Jaden was able to protect his Stratos with Shining. Earth is already in the graveyard, Gaia can't come out because Jaden didn't draw Knosp, so it's time for Elemental Hero Tornado to storm the field. It cuts the opponent's monster's points in half, allowing Jaden to destroy Venus with it and Shetiel with an powered up Winged Kuriboh. Kuriboh decides the duel and destroys the earring in the process. Reggie is punished by the shadow game and is chained in the absolute void, where she experiences constant pain. The two unconscious emit darkness, which Kuriboh can suck in with the earring and thus wake them up from the coma. coma. Hibiki quickly recovers, while Reggie faces a few more problems. She has some memory gaps and can no longer see dual spirits. They won't be able to gather any information from her, so Atticus can take her with him. It seems like the American Academy might have something to do with it, who will soon come with some duelists to Duel Academy, for which Jaden wants to build his new own deck. A week later, the students arrive and Jaden has his new deck ready. Completely new, only the winged Kuribo stays in it, of course. The students didn't come alone either, as their director and the shadow have also traveled with them. Although only Jesse, Axel, Gekko and Jim have arrived so far, Aster is also supposed to join them, who just won the World Championship in South Korea. But first, they need to settle on the island, eat something and challenge King Atticus to a duel. Atticus is using his sphere deck against Jim's alligator deck. First, a sphere absorbs Jim's alligator, instantly halving his life points, but Jim hopes to turn the tables with the spawn alligator, which can also deal significant damage to Atticus. Jim may think that titles like Kaiser or King are meaningless, but Atticus is about to prove that he didn't give himself that name, but rather people called him that for a reason. He summons 2 spheres to protect himself. Even though Jim plays in the next planet card, Neptune, with 4100 attack points and can even bypass the protective sphere thanks to a spell card, Atticus had anticipated this and knows it's a bad situation. But not for him. One trap card later, the attack is negated. It's time for a counter with Atmosphere, which may only have 1000 attack points, but with its effect, it can absorb an opponent's monster, boosting itself. To defeat Jim as decisively as possible, Atticus intentionally doesn't use his strongest card, Neptune, but instead chooses the Spawn Alligator. He weakens Neptune with a spell card and destroys it along with Jim. Atticus won't duel him again, but he has been chosen by the Shadow as a promising new puppet. Chazz needs to talk to Jaden, but Syrus can't be present. Unfortunately, Jaden only knows that the guys are after the Winged Kuribo and the Light and Darkness Dragon, and that at least one of the Americans is likely to be someone like David. They were promised that the one who has won the most duels will become a pro duelist like Aster, which is Gekko's chance. Axel is a bit different. He watches David's defeat a few more times and is suspicious about what's going on. And Jesse is a bug lover like Luffy. He knows Jaden and Syrus, introduces himself briefly, which makes Jaden somewhat skeptical, especially because he knows about Syrus and Jaden's deck. However, that skepticism quickly fades away when Jesse says he wants to have fun duels. You'll always get Jaden with that. The first exchange duels will be tag duels. First, Jesse and Gekko against Bastion and Alexis. It's time for a duel! Alexis summons a monster and defends against an attack with a face down card. Bastion tries to destroy the monster, but gets hit by a face down card instead and loses his own monster. Now it's Jesse's turn! And he summons a butterfly. Even Gekko thinks it's lame. Alexis is building up more monsters that can't be destroyed to summon an even stronger monster in the next turn. Gekko can't really do much, so Bastion gets to fix his bad move from earlier by sacrificing Alexis 2 monsters for Daidara, turning all monsters into yokai type to further boost Daidara, only to fall into a trap again, which locks him down. Jesse finally gets to inflict some damage by attacking directly with his insects. Gekko thinks it's unnecessary to attack Daidara because it gets weaker every turn, but Jesse still goes for it, which costs some of their life points and destroys both monsters. Gekko complains, but actually it was a good decision because Alexis could have used Bastion's face down cards to get her princess. So Jesse messed up their plan, so just keep on defending. Gekko still thinks Jesse is useless and sacrifices his monsters to summon another strong monster, which gets frozen. Bastion defends, Jesse can't use his Wings Club card because Gekko already sacrificed his monsters. It's Alexis' turn, who turns all the monsters in the graveyard into yokai, bringing back her ice doll, as well as another monster with a trap. 2 are sacrificed to summon the Blizzard Princess, who freezes all the opponent's traps and spells. Then the ice puppet becomes the princess too. They both attack, securing the Duel Academy's first victory. Jesse had Mirror Force, but because of the princess, it became useless. He takes it pretty lightly, unlike Gekko, who freaks out a bit. Atticus immediately sees through Bastion's crush on Alexis and will never allow it. Next tag duel, Jim and Axel against Chazz and Syrus. Jim goes first, summons a monster and a face down, just like Syrus. Axel summons another monster, powers it up and destroys Syrus' monster. Thanks to the face down, he can draw a card, but it doesn't help against the direct attack from the alligator. Now it's Chazz's turn, who may not have a 4-star monster, but he has a nice spell card that allows him to summon a stronger monster. It shuts down all spells and traps from the opponent and adds a little damage on top. Jim wants to turn it into a shadow game, but the shadow boss forbids it. So let's go with few eggs and face downs. Syrus combines his helicopter and rocket for a direct attack, destroys Axel's monster with a burning dragon, and the eggs got protected. Axel destroys the rocket. Chazz uses Syrus' steel from the heli to summon Steel Dragon, but get countered twice. Jim's turn, who summons the Dark Alligator, which comes with 2 tokens. One takes on the Steel Dragon, and the Dark one destroys the Burning Dragon. One is left, but Chazz stops it by bringing back the Burning Dragon. Syrus' turn, who wants to end the duel. For that, he gets combined rocket power again, weakening the opponent's monster for a bit, and finishing the duel with the Burning Dragon. 2-0 for the Japanese Duel Academy. Only one duel left, the single duel between Jaden and the 5th American duelist, Aster Phoenix. Everyone is surprised, except Jaden, because he doesn't know him. But he doesn't care either, he just wants an awesome duel and is thrilled to be dueling against a pro. The duel starts with Aster's Vision Hero in defense position. Of course, Jaden counters that with his masked heroes, the heroes of his new deck. Aster summons a weak monster that gets destroyed right away. Another one comes and joins its friend in the graveyard. Minimum Ray also enters Aster's spell and trap zone. He uses him and another Vision Hero to pull off Minimum Ray again, which wipes out one masked hero by effect and one by battle. Time to summon the real masked heroes, Inferno Attacks. It gets destroyed by Mirror Force, but Jaden actually just switched him for Vapor, who's immune to effects. But that lets Aster get 2 more Vision Heroes in his spell and trap zone. Aster defends himself, but faces another masked hero, who takes out his monster and lets Vapor go for the win. Just kidding, Aster survived with 100 life points. Well, pros don't win easily. They put on a show. He summons Increase from his spell and trap zone, sacrifices them for Witch Raider, who destroys a face down card, fuses the other 2 in his spell and trap zone to summon Adoration, weakening Vapor big time. That's how a pro does it. Which is actually why Jaden lost. But no big deal. Tomorrow there will be one-on-one duels for each exchange student. Aster still has some beef with Atticus and Zane, so it's good that he runs into Atticus in the evening, who's ready for a duel right away. Aster dumps some Vision Heroes to the graveyard to later fuse them in the spell and trap zone with Vision Fusion, but Atticus immediately sees through his plan. One Vision Hero down comes just what Atticus expected, and he's up against Adoration, who can deal some damage. And while it's still Aster's turn, Atticus activates one effect after another, ending up with 3 monsters on his side. Aster and Zane are the 2 duelists he hates to face because they are so good. All 3 of his monsters are sacrificed for Atmosphere, who snatches up Adoration as a power-up. Aster takes some damage, but not as much as he thought, thanks to a trap card. Gekko is blown away by this duel, and Director Shadowmaster wants Atticus so badly. Aster tries to bait Atticus into a trap, but Atticus sees through it again, sacrifices Atmosphere and summons Troposphere, attacks, but hitting a different monster than he wanted. That makes Aster lose some life points, but that's all part of the plan. After all, he can now retrieve his Vision Heroes and fuse them all together to summon Trinity with 5000 attack points. Atticus tries to block the attack, but is frozen by the Dark Force, preventing him from using his face down card, and loses. Aster walks off proud, the Director flies in, taking control of Atticus and Gekko. The 5 duelists each draw a card to pick a location for the single duels against the Americans. Aster also gets a new card, the card that his dad just made for him. And after beating Atticus, he finally feels strong enough to use this card. Jaden and Gekko are the first ones to face each other, with Gekko quickly playing the forbidden Nibunu. With that, he gets the upper hand. But one masked hero changes into another, turning the tide of the duel. Gekko now even takes a direct hit to then special summon 2 monsters to use them for the next planet card, Your Anus. He's packing some serious heat with 3500 attack points, which Jaden finds out the hard way. So Gekko must be the sinister exchange student. However, he has no idea what Jaden is talking about. Director Shepard finds it very strange that so many planet monsters are present in the American Academy, considering they all disappeared after the death of Aster's father. So he has to grill the other director with some questions, which never comes up again. In the duel, Jaden summons another powerful masked hero, allowing them to execute a combo attack to hand Gekko another defeat. Gekko, who only wants to be a pro to earn enough money to take care of his younger brother, is understandably bummed by this outcome. And kind of confused because he doesn't remember ever putting Uranus in this deck, which is promptly confiscated by the director, sending Gekko as a small extra into the Shadow Realm. Syrus has to face off against Jesse. He attempts to use his Einroid and Zweiroid, but they are weakened by Jesse's B, even though Jesse has to endure quite a few hits in return. The other matchups are Alexis against Aster, Bastion against Jim, and Chazz against Axel. Aster is excited to take down Atticus' sister. Jim wants to beat Bastion in a Shadow game, and Axel wants to learn more about the Shadow game because his father passed out because of it. Syrus sends his Einroid, Zweiroid, Dreiroid, Vierroid and Fünfroid all to the graveyard to fuse them to the Ultimate Machine. But Ultimate isn't good enough because it doesn't do anything. Jesse can defend himself well until he summons the next planet card, Mercury. Not only does it reduce the attack points of Syrus' machine to 0, but he also senses that something's off. After all, he drains Syrus' energy and knocks him down to 0. Jaden finds the unconscious Gekko, and Atticus finds them. This calls for a Shadow game for sure. Reggie spies on her dad, gets busted, and loses her Venus card. That makes him have 3 of the planets again. And Reggie is taken care of. Jim now summons Neptune, Aster summons Jupiter, and Axel summons Mars. That's game over for Bastion, who may have lost the duel, but won a trip to the Shadow Realm. Same goes for Alexis, although she doesn't go to the Shadow Realm, she only loses her powers, like it happened to Syrus, who's up again. Chazz, on the other hand, is a bit different. He may have been knocked down to 100 life points, but then busts out his Light and Darkness Dragon to finish the duel. Axel feels kind of weak and can't remember who he got Mars from. Then Chazz realizes that the guys must be after Jaden too. And yeah, he's in trouble against Atticus. He learns that the Wing Kuribo is actually a part of the Shadow Man. It's Atticus' turn, who wants to wrap it up with Pluto. With him and the knowledge of Jaden's hand through a spell card, he can snatch Jaden's face down card and destroy Wing Kuribo with no protection and end the duel. Jaden has lost. Kuribo and Earth are taken along, so he has all the pieces together to finally have his full power. Meanwhile, Jaden passes out and meets David and everyone else in the Shadow Realm, including Yugioh. The Wing Kuribo worked hard and pulled the darkness out of Jaden, so he just blacked out. Chazz does a great job as a wake-up call and finds out that Gekko wasn't the one who made Jaden lose, but Atticus. Zane is looking for Atticus. Hibiki wants to take matters into her own hands, and so does the Light and Darkness Dragon. He knows exactly where the final boss is and leads Jaden and Chazz there. But not just them, but Alexis, Syrus and Hibiki too. Aster got tricked into going there too, where Jesse, Jim, Axel, Atticus and Reggie are knocked out. To finally rise up, he must duel a strong duelist, where Aster as the world champion is perfect for that. His old vessel was none other than Aster's father. In his body, he could create the planetary monsters and for himself the sun, which he uses to beat Aster. So Jupiter is gone again and everything is together to resurrect fully. The others arrive, seeing all the unconscious guys lying around and also the reincarnation of the stone tablet. He sees how Wing Kuribo was made as a card, that dual spirits also need friends, and voila, he's back. But even when facing a 5-meter monster, Jaden still has absolutely no respect. And the monster's motive? Boredom. Yeah, that's it, he's just bored. And when you are bored, you also become reckless. So no wonder he wants to take on Jaden and Chazz at once now. Jaden even gets Wing Kuribo and Earth back for the duel. So let the 2-on-1 Shadow duel begin. While Jaden takes it easy, just like Shadow Sun, Chazz goes all out, summons his Light End Dragon and attacks directly with Woodsman, which actually worked. In Shadow's next turn, he just draws, and that's it. Jaden's turn, where he summons Gaia and goes for it. 2 more spectators arrive at the scene, Hibiki and Zane. In the garage, Mr. Shadow gives up half his life points to nuke their monsters, but Jaden blocks it. They've got one more monster to attack with, but it gets countered as well, although Chazz can save it and replace it with a Dark End Dragon. Shadow wants to regain his life points by summoning a monster whose attack points are based on the life points of Jaden and Chazz, and the spell card that absorbs all damage and reduces it to 0. That's it for Gaia, and even though it doesn't cause any damage and only gives him a little boost, it still hurts because of the Shadow game. But to bring back some excitement, Chazz destroys the cards. Managed to push Shadow's life points down a bit before he almost resets them. Jaden's turn, and he destroys the monster with Escuridao. More monsters are summoned to the field that nobody knows. After all, he made up the cards himself. The sun shines and destroys itself in the process. And whether it has an effect, you can't even read it on the duel disc. It's pretty cool that the sphere here has a purpose. The sun was the mightiest god, the god of resurrection, and so it rises here again. It's Chazz's turn, who pulls off a combo and summons the light and darkness dragon, which was just a snack for the sun. To gain a few more life points, Shadow now gets the attack points of his destroyed monsters and proceeds to destroy them directly. And when the sun returns, it becomes stronger. Time for fusions! Absolute Zero and Tornado destroy the sun and inflict some damage, but it doesn't stick. So Jaden replaces his two fusions with other fusions that can deal even more damage. Another effect to destroy the sun, but this time not just to heal himself, but also to harm Jaden and Chazz. Chazz summons his dragon, loses it immediately, but manages to survive another round. It all comes down to Jaden's turn. He draws and summons the white-winged Kuriboh. Jaden activates Chazz's face down card, draws two cards and uses them to fuse the light and darkness dragon with the winged Kuriboh. This allows him to summon Ma'at, who carries all the Millennium items. If Jaden now keeps drawing the card he calls out, he can do it again. With Ma'at's Millennium Eye, Jaden always knows what card he's gonna draw next, allowing him to destroy one of Shadow's cards, summon Gaia and weaken the sun. While he just complains and can't do anything about it, since all the Millennium items were in the winged Kuriboh, which now aiding Jaden in his victory. After Gaia comes Earth, and with Jaden having drawn 6 times, Ma'at gains 6,000 attack points. Earth is further strengthened by Gaia, who learned from his alternative life as Frieza, fighting against Trunks and slices through the sun, dealing a significant blow to Shadow and leaving him furious, especially because Ma'at can end the duel. However, why should the Shadow himself be punished in the Shadow game? Instead, he's not cool with it and wants to make Jaden and Chazz pay for winning. But not with Kuriboh and the Light and Darkness Dragon. One absorbs, the other attacks, and together they sacrifice themselves to seal the Shadow once again. The dual spirits vanish, but the humans in the Shadow Realm return. Years later, there's another World Championship, and Yugioh is back, even got World Champion last year. But his opponent right now is none other than Jaden Yuki. And even though everyone else has a new look, Jaden still wears his Slifer red jacket. And that's how the manga ends. If there weren't an extra chapter to show some of the duel. Jaden with his masked heroes against the deck he has played for so long, and therefore also against Earth. While Earth gets attacked, he counters to protect himself and damage Jaden. Yugioh summons Gaia and launches an attack with him, causing Jaden to take more hits, but at least he can activate a trap. Jaden summons Koga, tries to destroy Earth with him, but gets countered once again. However, he manages to deal some extra damage and get rid of Gaia. Directly attacking isn't an option because Yugioh summons elemental hero Core with 5,400 attack points. It can destroy Jaden's monster but can't end the duel. Time for the winged Kuriboh along with the fusion contrast hero Chaos. But how the duel really ends will always be a mystery. That wraps up the entire Yu-Gi-Oh! GX manga. We've gone through every chapter to give you a complete glimpse of how different the manga is compared to the anime. Now that you have seen it all, what do you prefer, anime or manga? Let me know in the comments below. That's it for this video, I hope you enjoyed it. Catch you later and take care, my friends.